Hello, everyone. I'm still getting a few questions on your research papers, so I came across this slideshow that I'd made and showed to previous students in the classroom. So I thought this might help you guys out with some tips on writing your argumentative paper, your persuasive paper. So there are a few different types of arguments that you can make in your paper. There's evaluation arguments right here, and you just want to persuade a reader that something is good, maybe that something's not so good, things like that. Then we've got cause and effect arguments. Those two different forms. So one argues that situation results from a particular cause, such as the causes most responsible for homelessness. And there's the other type, which argues that an action will have a certain effect. Maybe, if everyone switched to electric cars, there would be a reduction in greenhouse gases. Or I just read an article recently about if everyone would go to Meatless Mondays every week, how much of a carbon footprint would be, how their carbon footprint would be improved just by making that change. So things like that for cause and effect. Then there's problem solution arguments, and it's wanting to convince the readers that it's a particular solution to a problem, or there's a best way to address a need. For example, arguing that rehabilitation is the right solution for teenagers who commit crimes rather than sticking them in adult prisons. So those are the three main types of arguments you can make in your paper. And when you write an argument, you're going to want to persuade your reader to agree with you on the topic. So remember, it's got to be a debatable topic. A written argument consists of two elements. You've got your claim, which states the issue, and then it takes a position on the debatable topic. And then you're going to have your support or your reasons. So basically your thesis statement is going to be your opinion on your topic and then your reason why. And then the support is going to come in the paragraphs where you're going to provide your evidence. All right, so developing a claim and thesis statement. A claim is a statement that expresses a point of view. The claim is going to be your focus for your thinking and your thesis statement. And first you have to choose a topic. Hopefully you've all chosen a topic by now, and you do a little bit of research, and then you're going to make a claim. I was going to say, I can't remember what I was going to say. Anyway, and then you're going to create your thesis statement. And we're going to practice writing thesis statements probably in the next week or two. But just know that your thesis statement is your opinion and then your reasons why. Okay, so this part is an important part of your paper. An effective argument relies on three types of persuasive appeals. You need all three types in your paper. You've got the logos, which is the logic. So you're going to want to use sound, reasoning, and evidence, data, facts. You can even include pie charts if you want in your paper. And then you're going to have emotional appeals. Remember, you don't want to manipulate your reader with emotion, but you do want to include some emotion into it. Appeal to the values and the beliefs of the reader by arousing the reader's better self. So make them realize that your side is maybe more ethically better than the other side. A lot of my students will write topics about some very, very emotional things like, gun violence or juveniles in prison, and then they kind of leave the emotion out of it and they turn it into a rather dry paper. And this is a perfect time to include emotion in your papers. Just, you don't want to manipulate with emotions, but it's certainly okay to put emotional appeals in your paper, or pathos. Ethos, remember, you want to have credibility, not only for you as the writer to be credible, but you want to use sources that are credible, that have ethos. So logos, pathos, ethos. Those are the three rhetorical devices or persuasive appeals that you'll need to have in your paper. Okay, so here's the process. You're going to do some planning, choose a good topic, do a little bit of research to help you narrow down to what you want to talk about. I think I've already talked to you about posing a research question. Should prisoners receive an education while in prison? Why or why not? And then you want to, try to plan a strategy. If not, you end up procrastinating, and it's really easy to just kind of forget about it. You're going to conduct some research, find and evaluate sources. I do have that take notes, or be sure when you're on those library websites to email you the sources that you find that you like. A lot of people, and I've done it before too when I've written a paper, I think, oh, I can go back and find that paper really easily or that article. And it's much harder than you think. So email it to yourself when you're on it, or take a snapshot with your phone, do something so that you can remember where that article was. Okay, then you're going to want to, everyone organizes a little bit differently. I'm not the one who originally wrote this PowerPoint, but the person who did wanted you to create note cards on sources. It's a really good idea. Most of my students don't do it, but you do need to have some sort of way of organizing your things that make sense to you. So choose a way that makes sense to you. Group your ideas, your topics together, create an outline. Choose quotes, paraphrases, ideas. I'm going to talk about that shortly on summarizing using quotes and paraphrases. And then so you're going to want to incorporate all of these things with your own ideas. And we're going to practice some of that, so don't worry too much about that. Okay, and then you're going to get to the writing. That's going to be a little ways down the road. Okay, so this is what your research paper will look like, the actual structure of it. You're going to have your introduction. Remember, your introduction should start with a hook, something to get the reader interested in your topic. It could be a quote, it could be a statistic, it could be an interesting rhetorical question, it could be an anecdote or a short story based on your topic. Background information is not going to be required. It just depends on what your topic will be if you will have a background paragraph that's going to be separate from the introduction. A lot of people just give their background information in the introduction, but if you have some lengthy background information you need to give, then you might want to have a separate paragraph. For instance, I've had a student write a paper on whether cloning should be legal in the US, like scientific cloning. And in the paper, they used a lot of scientific terms that I had no idea what they meant. So I suggested that they go back and create a background paragraph which would follow the introduction and kind of give some of those terms and their meaning so that as I'm reading the paper, I kind of know what they mean. And if I don't, I can go back to that background paragraph and see what some of those terms mean. So it just really depends on your topic. Let's see. So evidence and reasons, those are going to be your main body paragraphs. Remember, you're going to have at least one paragraph per main idea or reason and give evidence, give specific examples. That's going to be the heart of your essay, or those body paragraphs. You're going to have this is response to the opposing argument. I'll often call it a counter-argument paragraph or a naysayer. You do have to have a paragraph that kind of goes against you. This is why you have to have a debatable topic. So you're going to have a counter-argument, a good argument also addresses the counter-argument, so the opposing side, and then you have to defend against it. That's called the rebuttal or the refutation to the counter-argument, and that will be in the counter-argument paragraph. And those will come just before the conclusion. And then remember, the conclusion is just pretty much wrapping up what you said all throughout your paper. Okay. So the purpose of an argument is to convince your audience either to agree with you or to be open to your position. So in order to do this, remember, we always talk about purpose and audience are the two things you need to know in order to effectively communicate with your audience or with your person you're wanting to communicate with. So consider what your audience already knows or believes about your topic. Usually just I'm going to be your audience. Some of your peers will be your audience if we do some peer review. And this will help you decide how much information to give. So the one student who was writing his paper on cloning did not take the audience into consideration and think about that I didn't know all these terms already for science. I'm not a big science person, so I didn't know a lot, and so he needed to take that into consideration. If you're writing a paper about, I don't know, raising children, probably have a little bit more knowledge about it because I've raised my kids. Not that I'm a, know-all on it, but at least I have some experience with it. So you need to have a reasonable tone in your paper. So it just tells your audience that you're being honest and open-minded. So no matter how strongly you feel about your position, you don't want to insult the reader or the opposing side. When you bring up your counter argument, you don't want to call them idiots or say some stupid people believe this. You always want to be respectful and objective even while you're being persuasive. Okay. So that's it for this short little PowerPoint presentation. I hope it helps you out. If you have any questions, be sure to let me know. Otherwise, good luck and get going on your research. I'll talk to you later.